Alright, so the Eagles are listed as favorites over the Commanders, but why are so many people treating it like the opposite? Let's take a look at why they're wrong and just how great of an outcome is this for Philly. Having said that, Vic Fangio isn't taking Jayden Daniels lightly. However, there's a few arguments to make about mismatches, plus what's the latest injury updates for Jalen Hurts and Quinyon Mitchell, as it sounds like both will for sure be playing on Sunday. And could PG actually make a return if the Birds make the Super Bowl? Let's talk about it, but first, let's run it. What's up, guys? Okay, so first off, I just gotta say thank you because the channel just passed 100,000 subscribers, which is absolutely insane considering that the channel was started just less than 2 years ago. So thank you again. Y'all are the best, and so are the Eagles. Despite the notion that the Commanders are gonna beat the Birds from the national pundits or the alarms going off with Jayden Daniels coming into Philly. Now yeah, I'm not saying overlook the commies, and I got several comments about being anxious for the matchup, which I totally get. However, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm actually more confident in this matchup than I was in the one for the Rams.
Are you out of your mind?
No, I'm not. Just hear me out on this one. Alright, yes, Washington beat the Tampa Bay Bucks, albeit on a doink at the end of the game. Yet give offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury and Jayden Daniels credit because they didn't punt the ball once on their way to the 23-20 victory. And then as we all witnessed last week, the Commanders put up 45 points on 481 total yards of offense to rout the Lions. FYI, they only punted one time in that game. Meaning for you math whizzes out there, the Commies have just one punt over their last 19 drives. And yeah, that is absolutely thanks in no small part to how Daniels is playing, which naturally led to some incredibly high praise from Vic Fangio.
He's a young quarterback by birth certificate, not by the tape. You know, the guy's playing extremely well. You could tell how much they think he's playing, you know, so good by the volume of their offense and the things they trust him to do. And he's come through for them in a big way. And he's tough to handle.
Is this the best you've ever seen a rookie play at that position?
You know, probably, yeah.
Doesn't make me feel better at all.
I know, hold on, I'll get there, although it's not really that big of a surprise to see Daniels get that type of credit. I mean, he has been incredibly impressive and seemingly only gotten better as the season's gone on, with one of those secrets to his success being uncovered recently due to the reminder about his VR training he does on a regular basis. In case you don't recall, Daniels made that a requirement from any team drafting him that he would have a state-of-the-art VR training to allow him to process things faster, with a focus being on reading defenses, making adjustments on the fly, and ultimately seeing blitzes more quickly. And to the Commanders' credit, that's exactly what they did, investing in the VR training called Cognilyze that allows the Rook to get an additional 250 reps per week against team-specific defensive tendencies. But the biggest reason for Jayden's ability to read and react against all kinds of alignments is because he said he set the speed up on VR training up to 1.7 times the speed. That way on game day, everything feels like it's moving in slow motion. Now, my first thought is, I have no idea if the Eagles have this type of ability, but if not, they should certainly look into it because it definitely couldn't hurt. But that's a whole nother story. Anyway, back to the confidence against the Commies, though. So the Detroit Lions defense recorded their worst mark of the season in terms of defensive efficiency against Daniels. In fact, it was their worst effort since Week 7 last year against the Baltimore Ravens. And their 193 receiving yards after contact allowed was their second worst in a game this season. Now yeah, the first element to consider is, sure, the Lions were banged up severely and definitely had it throughout the entire season, so it definitely played a factor. But they also sent 16 blitzes against Daniels where he went 12 for 16 for 191 yards and a touchdown. Heck, he didn't even get sacked once.
Still waiting for the good news.
Okay, sorry, so here it is. Even with all that dominance and insane play from Washington's offense, the Detroit Lions were right there early in the fourth quarter. And I mean, that's with Jared Goff resorting back to Jared Goof to throw 3 interceptions and cough up another fumble. Plus, let's not forget the trick play that felt a whole lot like forcing the issue at the end from Jamison Williams. Again, we all understand if you lose the turnover battle, you're most likely not winning the game. Remember, I covered it in the last video, but all 4 teams that advanced to the championship games lost the yardage battle but won the turnover war. Still, I'm not trying to take the Chris Sims argument of, oh, hey, take a couple plays away and this team would have lost. But what I am trying to say is the Commanders have not just magically morphed into a different type of team, especially when it comes to their defense. Like, they're an average defense at best. And even worse when it comes to the run defense. Heck, the Lions had the best rushing efficiency or grade in any NFL game over the last 2 years in that game versus the Commies. Seriously, that does not happen and you lose, except, well, whenever your quarterback tries to do too much. So for those saying that Jalen needs to be more aggressive and let it fly, maybe, but also maybe not. The Eagles are winning, and that's even more the case against the Commanders coming up. Lean on that offensive line and let them take advantage of the continual mismatches. I will say, nearly everyone continues to talk about how Philly needs to be leery of Washington, but I kind of think it's the exact opposite. Like my guy Anthony reminded, Philadelphia had 285 rushing yards against the Rams and 169 rushing yards against the Packers, which again is why the main question heading into the NFC Championship game shouldn't be how are the Eagles going to stop the Commanders, but how are the Commanders going to stop the Eagles, especially after Washington allowed 228 rushing yards in Week 11 and 211 rushing yards in Week 16. Also, just another addition for people wondering how much of an impact Jalen makes in the ground game. So like Dan Orlovsky pointed out on the first Saquon touchdown versus the Rams, the Eagles had a run called to the left where the Rams had 3 defensive linemen. But instead of running it there, Jalen calls to scrap the play and go to the opposite side. Because, anytime you can get 3 of the best offensive linemen going up against a linebacker and a safety, you're going to win that battle. As the Rams had to learn so embarrassingly on multiple runs from Barkley.
You lose that battle. You lose that battle 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, it's just a mismatch waiting to happen. And kudos to QB1 for signaling to Barkley on the change for the second touchdown. Although my favorite part was probably seeing Saquon mouth to Jalen, the box is stacked, since they both knew exactly what was going to happen. Like, come on, I agree with Chris Long, but that run with the natural ambiance of the link just gives me chills. By the way, if you want to go to the link and experience that, it's not too late to drop a like on this video and subscribe, because I'm going to give away 2 tickets to 1 lucky subscriber on my next live stream. Also, while you're doing that, shout out to my friends at the Eagles Autism Foundation for their NFC Championship auction going on. Because right now, you can bid on all kinds of game day items and experiences for this weekend. For example, like running out of the tunnel and holding the flag, or seeing the fellas in the tunnel beforehand, or even some VIP sideline passes to get photos and autographs before the game. Here's the best part. You can't go wrong with whatever option you choose because the proceeds benefit autism research not only in Philly but also around the world. Now, my personal favorite experience so far was getting to be down on the sidelines for the pregame. And it's funny because the last time I was there, we played these same commies. Anyway, I feel pretty confident about our chances, but go check out all the items up for auction down in the link in the description. Alright, one other element to add some more optimism about this championship game is the fact that when Jalen Hurts has been on the field against Washington, he hasn't turned the ball over. However, Jayden Daniels has accounted for 3 by himself, and the Commies have given it away 6 times over 2 games to the Birds. Now I know, for the record, the Eagles have 6 takeaways and 0 turnovers, and Washington is in the exact same number during the postseason. But something's got to give, and a home game at the Link with Vic Fangio and the fellas having unfinished business just feels like an incredible opportunity.
They're gonna talk about this night.
Look, we survived the one, right? Like, there's no way in my mind that Philly does not capitalize on those missed opportunities they had this past week. Especially when you consider that the Commanders' best blocker in guard Sam Cosmi tore his ACL and is out for the rest of the season. Meaning Trent Scott, who actually played pretty well against the Lions game, will be replacing him against Philly. Although it's one thing to do that in a spot relief, and another thing to know you're looking at the nightmare of Jalen Carter the entire game. By the way, this not only affects their pass pro, but Scott has been abysmal when it comes to run blocking, so the clear advantage that the Birds had in the trenches just got even more amplified. Again, I'm not saying this thing ends in a blowout, but the more that you look at the tape, the mismatches, the film, also analyze these past matchups, you got to feel pretty confident. But I'm curious to hear from you guys. Are you more so leaning towards nervousness or excitement? And also let me know why in the comments. Of course, as you're leaving that comment, I can understand if you say Jalen Hurts his knee, even though Nick Sirianni did technically confirm that Jalen will definitely be playing on Sunday. Yet sure, when you look at the injury, it does bring into question how much that could limit his ability to use his legs. And then there's also Quinyon Mitchell with a sprained shoulder, but remember, he told the Inquirer it's nothing to worry about and he'll be fine. Plus, Dr. Jesse Morse also believes Q will play on Sunday, saying the fact that he didn't return early in the game had him initially concerned for a possible fracture or bad AC sprain. But after further analysis and hearing what Q had to say, it sounds like the Eagles were being cautious and just suffered a type 1 AC sprain. Which translation, if that's the case, Morse gives Q a 95% chance of playing with a little cortisone and some good PT this week. However, if you're doubting that, that's not all, because Jason Dumas reported that he's been told both Jalen Hurts and Quinyon Mitchell will play on Sunday. So there you go, another second confirmed source that Q will be good. Absolutely love to hear that, because we're going to need Q against Terry McLaurin. But I will also say this, please just caution yourselves, don't freak out, because if he starts out as a DNP on the practice report, that is perfectly fine. Give him some rest. It's not like he actually has to go out there and get reps. He's plenty by this point in the season. Get him healthy. We will know the official report on Friday, so again, do not freak out if someone goes, hey, he didn't practice on Wednesday or Thursday. Now, in the spirit of uncertainty, several of you have been asking about Brandon Graham and if he might be able to return, assuming the Eagles make the Super Bowl.
Everybody stepped up in a big way. Nolan, D-line, the whole defense, man. I'm just proud of them guys, man. They fought in there. We didn't have the best surface, but we made it work. No excuses. Yep. Hey, but go Birds.
One final question. Any chance of you being back?
We'll see.
Terrell Owens came back in 2004 when he was supposed to be out for the year. You 2 months ago, pretty much supposed to be out for the year. And you have left the door open. You have publicly stated on our show many times the door is somewhat open. Is the door more open? Eagles got a game in 5 days. If you win that one, you got a game in 19 days. How opens the door?
Let's get there.
Sunday or 3 Sundays from now? Which Sunday are we talking about?
Let's go win this week. That's all I'm focused on right now.
If we win this week,
and then
that is a long time.
We'll see something.
If the team wins this week, that's, you said 19 days.
Well, what about if the team won last week, which they did?
Right.
Yeah. What about that?
Yeah, that seems like that's a long time to get ready too.
We not.
Do you
there
feel
yet.
ready?
Not there yet.
We gotta get this win, baby.
Man, how insane would it be if BG is able to return for the Super Bowl? I mean, it really only feels right. Granted, that would be an unbelievably quick timeline, but crazier things have happened. But like BG said, let's just get there first and then we can figure it out. I'll leave you with a thought of positivity here. So far, Kellen Moore does not have any interviews scheduled for this week. So even though we were told it wouldn't impact play calling or his ability to prep and be clear-headed before the Rams, I'm sorry, I don't know when I've ever functioned at 100% coming off of less sleep and trying to imagine 3 grueling interviews. Now maybe that's overkill because Kellen did say that all that it ended up doing was that he missed a 4th grader's basketball game, but that's why I say at least hopefully all of his interviews are out of the way and we can get a little bit more of an efficient offense on Sunday. Oh yeah, the other last-minute news we got is that Howie Roseman is doing some roster shuffling, as he signed tight end Cameron Latu to a reserve/future contract and released wide receiver Elijah Cooks from the practice squad. Which is kind of ironic since shout out to Zack Baun for this stat, but this marks the 4th third-round pick from San Francisco since 2021 that the Eagles have added to their roster or practice squad. Now, ultimately not really huge difference makers, but it is funny to see Howie's affinity for particular players or drafts in these moves. All right, hey guys, just one more time, thank you for all the support. 100,000 subscribers is just absolutely nuts. I don't know that I really envisioned I would fully get there, so thank you again. Y'all are the best. And until next time, this has been the Philly Special.